Facebook, what's up? Instagram, what's up? Happy Wednesday. I'm excited to be talking to you about a whole new topic. Before we get into that, I just want to say thanks so much. I know that over the past 2 weeks, like last week and a little bit of the week before, I was talking a lot about my course, Mastering Traditional Leatherworking Basics, and I know it was a lot of emails, it was a lot of live streams, and it was a lot of posts. The reason why I do that is because I want people to know about the course, and I know that you only see about 2% of what is actually on a social media feed. So you got to talk about it a lot. But I just wanted to say thank you for anybody who, for those students who did join me. I'm super excited to have you in the course. And for anyone who didn't, thanks so much for sticking with me through that. And now we're going to get into a new topic. Today, I'm talking about are you pricing your work according to what it's actually worth, right? So we're talking about how your customers perceive the value of your work, your leather work, and just kind of starting to be comfortable with the fact that the statement that your customer will pay that much for your products. And I'm going to tell you sort of how I'm coming to this realization, what the sort of principles are behind this. Not every person is your customer, so you really have to define that customer piece. But yeah, this is something that I see a lot of people struggling with, the whole sort of pricing your work and how to get a fair price, a profitable price, a price that people aren't going to be turned off by, a price where people will actually buy it for that price. So if that is hitting a nerve with you, great, you're in the right spot. Before we get into it, just to introduce myself, my name is Mary, and I am the host of the Facebook group, The Leather Tamers, and I also run the popular website, leatherbeast.com. I teach people, just like you, how to both make traditional leatherwork and how to sell it. So last week, I was kind of focusing more about how to make traditional leatherwork, and now I'm going to talk more about how to sell your leatherwork, because I know a lot of you guys already know how to do leather work and you're kind of taking it to the next level, or you're thinking about taking your hobby to a profitable, either a side business or a full-time business. So I think what we're talking about today is really going to help you sort of get in that right mindset. So I want to tell you this story. A few months ago, I was on a train coming back from a trip where I was visiting a family. I was on the Amtrak train. I love Amtrak. It's so comfortable. So I had my overnight bag up ahead in the bin, and then I had one of my own leather backpacks. It's this backpack that I take anytime I'm doing like a weekend trip, because I'm a light packer. So it's like all I need is a little overnight bag and then my backpack. Anyways, I had that sitting next to me on the seat, the open seat next to me. So we're stopping at stations all along the way, coming back from Pennsylvania, coming back to New York. And at one stop, passengers were getting on, and there was this guy who said, "Hey, can I sit here?" And I was like, "Sure." I moved my leather backpack, and as I was moving it, he was super friendly. He was like, "Oh my God, I love that backpack." So we got to talking. And before I knew it, he was asking me all about it, asking me how he could get one for his wife and how much it would be. And so for some of you, that's like the dreaded question, right? When someone puts you on the spot and you're like, oh, what should I say? I don't know if I should say what I really think, because they might think that's too high of a price, or maybe I should say something a lot lower so that I don't blow it. But before I could even think about it, I just quickly said, I can make you one for $500. And immediately, as the words like came tumbling out of my mouth, I was like, oh God, why did I say that? That's way too much. I mean, I feel like my bags are worth that much because I know I put a lot of time and effort into them, but it was just kind of like in my mind, that's what I was thinking. It was too much. I just thought that the conversation would end there, that he might like raise his eyebrows a little bit and be like, okay, nice talking to you, you know? And I thought that I had blown the opportunity to get this like custom order for a leather backpack. But to my surprise, right away, he said, great, can I pay you now? Can I send you a Venmo? And so I was pretty shocked. So, the reason why I'm telling you this story is to show you that customers will pay that much for your leather goods, and you don't have to undercharge and have a cheap product just in order to make a sale. You really don't. But there's a few key things to remember with this. So, let me talk about these three things that you kind of have to have. I guess they're kind of like principles behind this. Number one, don't let bargain shoppers make you feel like you need to lower your prices, right? So you need to be sharing your work with the right customers. You've heard me say this before. What I mean by the right customers is the people who need what you have, or they really want what you have, and they have the money to buy it, right? So now, did I know that that guy on the train was my right customer? Did I know anything about his finances or anything about if he had the money to buy? No, I didn't know that for sure. But the fact that he was asking and inquiring straight up, how much is this? That did tell me that he was serious about buying this bag. Only bargain shoppers will sort of balk at your pricing, and we're not really worried about them. We don't want the bargain shoppers to inform your pricing structure of your leather goods because they're bargain shoppers. They're always looking for a deal, right? So you just need to forget about them. Just because the wrong kind of customer, that bargain shopper, feels like your prices are too high, that does not mean that you need to change and lower your prices to fit them. It means that you're not talking to the right customer. You're talking to bargain shoppers, and you need to stop talking to bargain shoppers and direct your marketing and your promotion to a group of people who is not looking for a bargain, who is looking for the quality, the product, what you are making. So had the man's response, the guy on the train, had his response to when I told him $500 for this bag, had he said something like, whoa, that's really expensive, I would not have felt compelled to lower my price and be like, oh, well, I can do it for lower, or like, oh, I shouldn't, that was too high of a price. Instead, I would have thought to myself, or I would have pretended like I was really feeling it, fake it till you make it, right? Instead, I would have thought to myself, this isn't my customer. I would have smiled at him, said, okay, great, nice talking to you, and gone back to reading my book, right? You don't want to let the bargain shoppers make you feel like you need to lower your prices. Instead, think about the fact that you might not be talking to your ideal customer, the right customer, the customer that actually values what you make. And that's, you need to find those people. The second thing, the right customer absolutely does appreciate quality. I've seen this before from frustrated leather crafters, people who are trying to start a business, and they say this in Facebook groups and on forums and stuff, and they say they just don't appreciate the quality. But they do. Again, you're not talking to the right customer. You're not talking to your customer. You're talking to someone who doesn't value what you are producing. So part of the conversation before he got to asking me the price of that bag, part of the conversation on that train was me talking about my bag and saying, oh, yeah, you like this? Cool. Let me tell you a little bit about it. I hand stitch everything. I use French linen thread, like from Fil Chinois, this really old French thread producer. I use vegetable tanned leather and solid brass hardware. Before I even got to the cost question, I was telling him about the quality of the materials, and not only that I use quality materials, but also explaining what that means. For most people, when you tell them this is vegetable tanned leather and solid brass hardware, they're like, great, so what does that mean? A lot of people, I talked about my bags to my friends sometimes, and they're like, oh, I've never even heard of vegetable tan leather. You know, to people who don't work with leather, who are just consumers of it, but not necessarily in the trade or, um, connoisseurs of leather, they're not going to know about vegetable tanned leather. So um, I explained to him a little bit about how vegetable tanned leather differs from other mass produced leather, how it behaves over time, how solid brass hardware is superior to some other types of hardware, nickel or like plated hardware that's going to chip and peel after a while. So I was educating him about the bag and about what went into it and um, almost preparing him. I wasn't really doing this intentionally, obviously, because I said that price just off the top of my head, but I was intentionally preparing him for his question and that it was going to be a $500 bag. And that really worked in my favor because he really appreciated that quality, clearly, because he was okay with the price. And then finally, and this might be the most important part, you have to have confidence in your own product, in your leather goods. You have to have confidence in them if you are to sell them to your customer. You have to believe that what you are selling is actually worth what you're asking for. So for some people, this might be a mindset shift. Your product is valuable, the quality is good, you use really amazing materials, it looks really good, but for some reason in their mind, they just can't believe it. I mean, I suffer from this a little bit too. Like I said, I was really nervous after I blurted out that price that like, ooh, maybe that wasn't right. But like, no, when I think about it, I know that I have a very high quality leather bag that I made and that is made with really great methods, really great materials. And so for some other people, you might have to address the fact that your product isn't as good as it can be. That's a different story. You need to work on that, whether that's practicing your techniques, upgrading your materials, do whatever you need to do to bring it up to a point where you can have confidence in what you're making, in the leather good that you're making, and say, this looks really good. Like, this is a good product. When you have confidence, you're able to talk about your product. And it's not hard. Even if you're shy, if you have confidence in your product and you know, this is awesome, this looks really great, it's easier for you to share that. Your confidence and your enthusiasm is the part that really sells to your customer. Um, your customer can sense this. If your customer comes up to your table at a market and you're just kind of like, hi, yeah, these are my things, they're going to be like, great, But if you're like standing up and kind of like picking things up and showing them how amazing it is and asking them to look closely and like, look at this is how I make this, isn't this amazing? Like, you really have to bring it almost to the point where you feel like you're being a little conceited or overly confident. That is how you sell it to your customer. And I'm not meaning sell it like lying to your customer, like everything you say should be truthful. You have to believe it though, and that is part of being able to sell your products, and your customer will pay what you are asking for them. So whether you are selling online or you are selling in markets, you have to bring that confidence either verbally or through your item descriptions, talking about how great your product is and how amazing it is. This is contagious, and it's really going to help your customer to appreciate the value and see that you as the seller appreciate the value and believe that your product is worth that much. So let your confidence and your actual leather work be the guide for setting your prices. Your customers will pay that much for your leather goods as long as you follow these 3 key principles. Forget the bargain shoppers. Go for your ideal customer, express the quality of your work and materials, and share your own confidence and enthusiasm for the work. Follow these guidelines, and your customers will pay that much for your leather goods. Forget about those bargain shoppers. So I'm curious, are you pricing your work according to what it's actually worth? Drop me a comment. Have you ever felt swayed or pressured by bargain shoppers to lower your prices? And do you have confidence in your leatherwork? Are you expressing this in your marketing and sales pitches? If you're not expressing this, go back to those, to all your social media content and your product listings, and make sure it's infused with confidence in your own product, because that is how you sell your leather goods to your customer. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Next week, I'm going to come back on Wednesdays at noon. That's when I'm here usually. Sometimes I'm a little late, but for the most part, I'm here Wednesdays at noon. And next week, I'm talking about more on pricing. I'm talking about what happens when you don't price for profit, and what happens when you have a really low price on your products, and how that could be really hurting your business. Not only just, you're not bringing in as much money as you could be, but just what that is, the message that is sending to your customer when you're pricing your products low because you're afraid to price them high because you don't think you're going to make sales. So come and join me next week. And if you haven't already, join us in the Leather Tamers. We would love to have you a part of that group, or head over to Leather Beast. I have some freebies. I've also just redesigned the Leather Beast website that I am super into. I kind of just like streamlined it. I just want to get really focused with what I can help you guys with. So I went in there, and I have a freebie for anybody who is looking to get started with leatherwork, and another freebie for anybody who is running a business in leatherwork. Those can both be found on leatherbeast.com. And also, before I go, I am right now creating a ton of new content. I like to batch my content so that I don't have to do it every week. So I'm creating all kinds of new content for the next 6 months. So if you have any questions, anything about making leatherwork or selling it, send me an email, info@leatherbeast.com, and let me know. What are you struggling with? What do you have questions on? What would you love for me to cover in a blog post, in a video? I'm happy to do it. And if it seems to fit in with the content and I get a lot of requests for the same thing, I'll do videos on it. I'll do a blog post on it. So yeah, don't be shy. Let me know where you are, what you're trying to accomplish, and what kind of problems you are having doing that. I would love to help you get past that and really direct some free content your way that could really help you move the needle. All right, you guys, I am going to take off. Have a fantastic Wednesday. Bye.